Welcome back to our channel, guys. Today's topic is all about the history of Islamic architecture. First, let's talk about the history. Muslim chronology dates from AD 622, the year of Hijrah, when Muhammad moved from Mecca to Medina. In the succeeding 10 years of his life, Muhammad established the framework of religion and the beginning of the military organization charged with spreading the faith. Immediately after his death in 632 AD, the concerted efforts of the Arabian Tubes carried them as conquerors into Central Asia and westwards towards the Atlantic. Islamic architecture encompasses a wide range of both secular and religious styles from the foundation of Islam to the present day, influencing the design and construction of buildings and structures in Islamic culture. The principal Islamic architectural types are the mosque, the tomb, the palace, and the fort. From these four types, the vocabulary of Islamic architecture is derived and used for buildings of less importance, such as public baths, fountains, domestic architectures. The social aspects of the Islam. Social. The Arab groups, which were spearheaded of the advance of Islam, were essentially tribal, and in consequence, the behavior patterns and cultural attributes of emergent Islamic societies were based on the traditions of the desert. As Muslim communities become stabilized over the succeeding centuries, a clear social pattern emerged in which public life was reserved for men. Women played a secondary role, almost inevitably assuming major share of domestic and sometimes of agricultural burden. Men performed the significant public duties and controlled all public affairs, and these social structures had direct architectural consequences in the layout of domestic and public buildings. Religious date founded the Islam is 622 after death of Christ. Placed Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Founder Muhammad, born in 570 AD, a trade merchant from Arabia. Adherents 1.3 billion. Size rank, religious statistics, second largest in the world. Main location, Middle East and North Africa. Sacred text, the Quran or Quran. Original language, Arabic. House of worship is called mosque. Ultimate reality, God Allah in Arabic, the same God revealed in the Jewish and Christian Bibles. Type of theism, strict monotheism. Purpose of life, submit to the will of Allah and attain paradise after death. How to live, follow the Quran, the Hadith, and the five pillars of Islam. The five pillars of Islam are daily confession of faith, shahada, daily ritual prayer, salat, paying the alms tax, zakat, fasting during the month of the Ramadan, saum, pilgrimage to Mecca, Hajj. Afterlife, resurrection of body and soul, followed by eternal paradise or hell. Symbols, crescent moon and star. Muhammad, the prophet of Muslim. Quran, the Bible or the book of Islam. The mosque, the most religious building in Islam. Crescent moon and star, the symbol of Islam. The Islamic faith produced in successive generations a way of life and a set of attitudes which had a great influence on their architecture. This may be summarized as and acceptance of the transitory nature of the earthly life, personal humility, and abhorrence of images. The effects of these beliefs on Islamic architecture can be seen in the following characteristics. There is no essential differentiation in techniques between buildings with directly religious connotation and other buildings. That important architectural endeavor is normally expended on buildings having direct social or community purpose, including that of worship. That decoration tend towards the abstract, using geometric, calligraphic, and plant motifs, with a preference for uniform field of decoration rather than focal element. And that basic conservatism discouraged innovation and favored established forms. Terminology in the buildings. Building types: masjid in Persia and India, jami, mosque, principal place of worship or use of the building for Friday prayers. Masjid in Turkey, small prayer house. Madrasa in Egypt, and sarai or sirai is palace. Building components: mihrab, niche oriented towards the Mecca, mimbar, raised platform for ceremonial announcements. A1 or Iban, Persia, open fronted vault facing to a court. Bab, a gateway, sun, courtyard of a mosque. Minaret, a tower from which call to prayer is made. Harem, women's private quarters of a house or palace. Silamlek, men's or guests' quarters. Qibla or Qibli, axis oriented towards Mecca. And Chatti in India is kiosk. Personnel terminology: muezzin, caller who summons the faithful to the prayer. Iman or imam, man who leads the congregation at prayer. Caliph or caliphin, successor to the prophet, as military, judicial, and spiritual leader of Islam. Now let's go to the types of Islamic architecture. Definition: Islamic architecture can be defined as building traditions of Muslim population of the Middle East and any country where Islam has been dominant from 7th century on. Types of Islamic architecture or structures: the mosque, the madrasa, hammam, the caravanserai, a roadside inn for travelers. Hammam is a hot bath house. The kasbah or the citadel, a fortress. The mausoleum is a tomb or monument. The architectural character of Islamic architecture contains balance and symmetry, concept of perfect creation, formal landscape centered upon God, use of striated masonry. Striated masonry, alternate bands of bricks and stone, was borrowed from Byzantium styles in architecture. The parts of the mosque. This is called the minaret, where the muezzin or the caller to the faithful is calling for prayer right here in this tower. The parts of the mosque. Okay, note, a mosque may serve many functions other than prayer. It may be used as a school, transactions may be made there, add storage for treasurers. This is the minaret. The minaret, a tower or a tall tower of the mosque, continues to a mosque arch stairs leading up to the one or more balconies, also from which the faithful are called to prayer. by the muezzin. Parts of the mosque. Courtyard is so fundamental feature of the mosque is also in its several variation according to their functions. The courtyard were cloistered and arcaded, and the sides were punctuated with gateways, prayer chambers, or arch porches. Iwans. Another parts of the mosque is the kiosk used in isolation as a little ornamental pavilion, emphasizing a roof or providing a focus in a pleasure garden. It might take the form of the massive tomb, high and dome, or it might be repeated to form a cloister, terrace, or court. It is almost a universal rule in Islamic building that each cell of a complex building structures is individually expressed in plan and in volume. Now let's go to the mosque architectural features. The masrabiyah, projecting window enclosed with carved wood or lattice works. Right here at the top. A very intricate lattice works carved from woods. The mihrab, right here. Do you notice, guys, these decorative openings? This is called stalactites design, influenced by stalactites of the caves. Mihrab, semicircular niche in the wall of the mosque that indicates the Qibla. Sahan, a courtyard combined with ablution area. The minaret, of course, the tallest tower of the mosque, a visual focal point and are used for the call to prayer. The Dika, a place of delivering royal messages. The mosque architectural dome is called pointed dome or the bulbous dome. Focal point and covering the main prayer hall. It serves as a roof. That's the pointed bulbous bulb dome or dome. Member, a pulpit where Imam deliver khutbah. Mimbar is equivalent to Catholic Church of a pulpit. Muqarnas, that's stalactite vault, Persian architectural ornament. So that is Muqarnas. Praying area hall, main area to perform congregational prayer. The ark, structure that spans a space while supporting weight. Here, the only difference of Roman and Islamic arc is that the Islamic arc here has point. It is called pointed arc, while the Roman is half circle arc. That's the difference. So we have here the typical layout of the mosque. It's facing directly to the Mecca. Okay, so it has fortified wall, just like in the battle or in the palace, there is a fortified wall. The mosque architectural features. The most important form of opening was the pointed arc, which was principally 2 and 4 centered and generally constructed as true arc through corbelled examples were common in India. Did you notice, guys, that Taj Mahal, it employed the pointed arc. So here is how it is constructed. The window openings were frequently small, traditionally closed with wooden shutters, iron bars, marble grills, or plaster lights set with clear glass. Domes were widely used throughout the Islamic world. In Persia, Mughal, and Egypt, domes tended to be pointed in contrast to the hemispherical Turkish version. So here is the hemispherical Turkish version, and this is the pointed dome. Wind scoops were added to the construction techniques in order to meet the climatic conditions. So there are vents, air ventilation in the buildings. There are inlet here, the air enters and it goes inside the mosque and it goes outside the mosque. So see guys, notice the design of their walls. It has chamber for air. It has a secret ventilation passage of air. Right here, input of air and output. So there is, even though there is no electric fans or air conditioning, the building stood as it is sustainable in the way that air will circulate inside. So it is a concept of green building, but during those days, on the Renaissance period, there is no such word as green architecture. But the concept was already used during that time. As you see in this diagram here, this is the inlet of the air going inside the mosque, and at the other end there is also a outlet of the air so that air can circulate. The Islamic decorative elements. Water is used as Islamic decorative elements. Hot Islamic climates, the water from courtyard pools, fountains, colacit decorates. Water cannot only reflect architecture and multiply the decorative themes, it can also serve as a means of emphasizing visual access. The Islamic decorative canon. The calligraphy, the geometric, and the arabesque. So there are three Islamic decorative canon. The geometric patterns is somewhat hexagonal. This hexagonal pattern. These patterns exemplify the Islamic interest in repetition, balance, symmetry, and continuous generation of pattern. The integration of geometry with such optical effects as the balancing of positive and negative areas, a skillful use of color and tonal values. The arabesque motif or Islimi arabesque design are biomorphic, floral patterns representing the underlying order and unity of nature with great deal of accuracy. Flowers and trees might be used as the motifs for the decoration of textile objects and buildings. So the arabesque motif is somewhat floral. The calligraphy motif or calligraphy design, like other Islamic decoration, calligraphy is closely linked to geometry. The proportion of the letters are all governed by mathematics Inscriptions are most often used as a frame along and around main elements of building like portals and cornices. The corbel or curbel, a block of stone often elaborately carved or molded, projecting from a wall, supporting the beams of a roof or floor or vault. So this is the design of the corbel. It projects from a wall to support the beam of the roof. Chamfer, a diagonal cutting of an arris formed by two surfaces meeting at an angle. This is the example of chamfer. It's a diagonal cutting so that two forms can be joined together by a chamfer. So here is the typical elevation of the mosque. So you see guys, there is a formal or symmetrical balance in the design at the center, and notice the distance of the two towers. It's always mirrored from the center, left and right. So very formal design or very symmetrical design. You see there are two towers at the back, same distances, and in the front so the layout is very formal, balance. Here are mosques from different parts or different countries in Middle East. Example, in Iran and Central Asia, this is their typical mosque. In Anatolia, use a massive central dome. In China, of course, the mosque is different looking because of their culture. The roof are upright eaves, so very different from the bulbous or pointed dome in the Middle East. The Taj Mahal is the very perfect example of Islamic architecture. Very splendid. That's majestical work of art, immortal work of art from then until now. In tradition of the Mughal, tombs stood formally laid out, walled garden with kiosk, and entered through the pavilion gateways. It was the culminating work in the life of the Emperor Shah Jahan, erected to the memory of his wife, Mumtaz Mahal. Located in Agra, Uttar Pradesh, India, the mausoleum itself is 57 meters square in plan, and the structure consists of a pack of four complex but basically octagonal towers linked together to carry a great dome spanning the central space between them. Smaller dome pavilions cap each tower, and circular tapering minarets stand on its corner of the podium on which the structure stands. The central inner dome of the Taj Mahal is 24.5 meters high and 17.7 meters in diameter. Okay, so it is surmounted by an outer shell nearly 61 meters in height. The tombs Shah Jahan and his wife are enclosed with a marble screen of incredible elaboration and delicacy. The Chinli kiosk located at Istanbul, 1472 AD. Is an unusual and lovely building on a plan much influenced by Persian structures. A uniform central space is surmounted by a dome and surrounded by other dome chambers and verandas. The facade is formed by a long arcaded veranda of great elegance, almost unique in its Persian character. Alright guys, don't forget to answer questions at the end of this video, and thank you for viewing. Alright class, here are the questions for you to answer on a bond paper, short size, and your answer sheet will be sent to our Google email in the form of JPEG or soft copy. Hand it in to our Google Classroom. So here is the number one question. Why Islamic architecture important? Alright class, here okay class, here are the questions for you to answer about Islamic architecture. Don't forget, your answered sheet will be hand in into our Google Classroom, or send it to my email, and keep the hard copy of your activities, quizzes and everything. Just keep the hard copy. I will collect it before or on midterm or before finals. Okay, so here are the questions. This is to be answered on a sheet of bond paper, guys. Okay, what was a common element used in Islamic architecture? I know these questions is very hard for you to answer, but anyway, Mr. Google will always be there to answer it. Okay guys, this is the beauty of the new order, or what we call the new order of the COVID-19, because classes are done at home or done in the cyberspace or in the internet. That's why nobody will scold you when you are cheating or looking at some answers on the internet. Anyways, that's all about learning on this pandemic. Number 2 question, why is Islamic architecture important? Number 3, what building best described as Islamic architecture? Number 4, what was the most important contribution to Islamic architecture? Or what was the most important contribution of Islamic architecture to the world? That's how I correct that sentence. What is unique about Islamic architecture? Okay, there is something unique, guys. Think about it. Okay, there is only one or two something that is very unique compared to Western architecture or tropical or Eastern. Okay, what makes Islamic architecture unique? What is it called, or why it is called Islamic architecture, when in fact it was used by the Byzantine people? The architecture of Islam was derived from that of the Byzantine or Byzantium architecture. And what is an example of Islamic architecture? Okay guys, you can give your own example of a structure that is famous and can be called Islamic architecture. I'll give you a hint. In Russia, there is Islamic architecture that until now it is a landmark of Russia. Is there Islamic architecture in the Philippines? Yeah guys, there is a continuation in that question. Is there Islamic architecture in the Philippines? Thank you so much guys for your cooperation, and don't forget to subscribe our channel for the benefits of architecture students. And drop a like and make comments, because your comments is your attendance.